Hello, guys. Welcome back to Business Players Live. I can't believe it. We're almost in the 25th episode. This is episode 24th, and it's been super fun. I have such a good time with you guys and with the guest speakers here. Today, we have an amazing one. She's badass, okay? She's got a lot of things going on, and she's doing more. And I believe she's also pregnant on top of everything, all the cool and crazy stuff she's doing. She's also pregnant, so congratulations to her. But we're gonna get into talking more about her in a second. I first want to say, like always, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. You're awesome. God bless you, and especially the people that stick until the end of the videos. I know that some of them are 30 minutes, but some of them are 1 hour, and you're there all the time watching the video completely, and that's pretty awesome, because that means that we're providing a lot of good value. So I'm very happy for that. Remember to subscribe if you haven't, if you're watching us on YouTube and the other social media. You can of course, please like it and also follow us, etc. But without further ado, let's present Jessie Medina. Okay, she's here with us right now, and she's an awesome girl entrepreneur, and she's Latina as well, which is a huge, it's awesome, because I'm also Latino from Venezuela. She's from Argentina, which is super cool, and I love people
South
from
America.
South America in the house. Yes. So it's super cool, that we have her here. Let me introduce her. So Jessie is a proud Latina founder. She's an international speaker, community builder, and she's a founder of a really amazing company called FEMX, okay? And her company and her have been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, CBS, NBC, and many others. What FEMX does is it's a purpose-driven brand that empowers female entrepreneurs and offers a mobile community app, a co-working space, and education online for women specifically, so they can grow their companies and connect authentically with other people. So she helps people to find their authenticity, especially women, of course, and that's what she does, and she lives by that. Jessie is originally from Argentina, which is awesome, and she has a communication and business degree, and she's worked with in the corporate scene as an executive for 10 years, before she started into doing her own business. And she's currently, I said, expecting a child. She'll tell us more about that experience. That's awesome. I'm waiting. I'm waiting like 2 more years, my friend. But I'll get in the same boat soon. Yes. And then she'll tell us more about everything that she does in her business and etc. But I'm sure she's selling herself short here. Okay, she's amazing. So without further ado, welcome Jessie. Woo! Jessie Medina in the house. Let's go. Latina.
Hola, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessie, for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. I'm really excited to be here. And honestly, things are going well.
Hey, how many months do you have?
I'm at 5 months, and I cannot believe it. Yeah, actually,
Oh,
I think
congratulations.
it's 6 this week. It's going to be 6 months, so almost 2/3 of the pregnancy.
Wow. Congratulations, my friend. And how do you feel being so awesome and now getting ready to become a mom? How does that feel?
I feel great because I think it's the perfect time. I was kind of like you, every year I would say like, not yet, next year, in 2 years. And now it happened. And I'm really glad that it happened because I think it's the perfect time. I'm ready for it. My business is more established. And so it's always good to be ready for something. And I feel like I've been preparing myself for this for a long time. And I always just kept thinking I'm not quite ready. But once it happened, I'm like, no, I am ready. This is the perfect time. I'm trusting in the perfect timing, and I'm just excited to see what happens.
Oh, that's awesome. And how's the dad doing? He's super happy too, and he's like,
I'm
oh
so
my God,
excited.
finally.
He's been waiting, like he's been asking for a baby for like 3 or 4 years now. So he's just like super excited. He's like, finally, But I was like, I was starting a business and then building a community and traveling a lot. So I was like, we're not quite ready yet. So, but now we are, and I'm just really excited that it's here already.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. In my case, it's the opposite. My wife is like the one. She's like, "Oh my God, we need a baby. I want a baby right now." And I'm like, "Well, let's hold a little bit more." And but we're probably 1-2 years. We're gonna start start getting started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta feel ready. And honestly, it's a little bit heavier on the woman, So it's like for me, it was like I know if I get pregnant, it's gonna take a lot of my time. So I had to be ready as a woman, The guy
Yeah.
obviously spends a lot of time with the baby too, but it's still not quite the same.
All right. For sure. Yes, yes. But before, let's go back before pregnancy, before
Yes.
everything. Let's get started in how did all this crazy stuff happen about business and entrepreneurship, and like tell us all about your story. How did it all started, and where did it started, and all that cool stuff. We want to know more about you.
Yeah. I'll hit a couple milestones because obviously this has been like a 15-year journey. Even when I was in high school, I was having this memory the other day talking to someone that I remember I was really into art and graphic design, and I was really good. I was, winning awards in art, like doing all these cool things. And I
Nice.
had a mentor, one of my teachers, and I remember him saying like, you should become a graphic designer. You're so talented. And I was like, I remember saying, and I was very naive, and I didn't really know what I was saying. But I remember I told him at the time, I was like, I don't really see myself being a graphic designer for a living, but I see myself owning maybe like a graphic design firm, like I always thought like that bigger picture of like, I don't really want to work for somebody else, but I could like put together a team and a vision and like do it for other people. So I remember saying that, but I totally forgot about that for like years. And I think that was like my first hint that
Mhm.
I had a passion for entrepreneurship, even though this is like over 15 years ago. It wasn't really talked about a lot. And then I went to college, and I was studying communications. And one day I started helping this classmate with, she was actually a business major. And she was, going through her business homework, and I was doing my homework. And she's like, I don't really understand this project. Like, can you help me? And I don't know why, but I started helping her with the strategy. And it became so easy to me. Like, I was just like, doing it naturally. And she's like, you're like a natural. And she aced the project, and she's like, you should change your major to business, So a lot of it was kind of like very, very like just natural, but I
Nice.
didn't even know it. I didn't have the awareness at the time. And I think that's okay, right? It's just little hints that life gives you. And so at this point, I'm like 17. I started going to college when I was 17. I graduated high school earlier because I moved here from South America, and like the education is different. So they had
Yeah.
advanced me, graduated early. I was only like 17 and a half, 18 years old when I changed my major. And then um, I remember there was someone from my church that was like starting a business, and this is someone that speaks Spanish, wasn't too comfortable with his English. This is like a family man, like really good family. And he like obviously knew I was kind of studying business and this and that. And he was like, hey, could you help me, since you speak English and you're familiar with business and social media, which was like MySpace at the time.
Yeah.
But he's like, can you help me? And I was like, okay. And so I pretty much helped him, start this business, and he offered me like 5% of his company. Like all this was happening, and I just didn't understand, like, really, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting equity in a company or all these things that now I know, right? It was just very, very natural. And yeah, one thing led to another. And so I kind of kept doing like helping businesses throughout my college career just to make money to pay for college. And I also had odd jobs at the same time because it's never enough, right? So I still was like, sometimes working part-time at a restaurant or doing these other crazy things. And eventually, when I was in college, I took an internship my last year. And that internship, took, basically started my corporate career. I mean, they were paying me well, even while being an intern, because I had all these years of experience. Like when I applied for the internship, they're like, oh, wow, like you already have experience doing marketing and all these things. And so basically, I got in the right room. I was reporting to the VP of marketing at the time. So that was a really good opportunity that I got to be there. Sometimes it's just about being in the right rooms. And from there, he saw my talent. They were a very like old school team. They like everybody in that team, in the executive team, they were older, so they didn't know a lot about digital marketing and social media. They didn't know anything. So I was like their savior. I came in, I'm the young person that knows all these things. So basically, by the end of my internship, I got an offer from them, and I also got an offer from other companies. So I
Nice.
kind of leveraged that. I was like, hey, these other companies want me to go work for them. Like, are you gonna hire me? Like, it's gonna happen. And basically, I remember my boss at the time was like, look, put together a proposal of what you would do, like, if you work here with us, like, because up to that point, there was a lot of what they would ask me to do. So he's like, put together a proposal. And the nerd that I was, I put together this huge, like, communication and marketing proposal and presented it to the executives, which that we can get into that if you want to know more about that. But it was scary. And if anybody that's young is listening, you're gonna have to do scary things in life. Like, please
Totally.
don't think it was easy. Please don't think that I was just like, I was very scared to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I went in that room, I presented the thing. They asked me to step out. I remember I was like kind of shaking outside. And I ended up with a job offer to actually start a communications department because they didn't have that. They didn't
Wow.
have anybody doing digital marketing, basically. So they
Yeah.
put me in charge of that, gave me a huge raise. They wanted to make sure they kept me in the company. And so that kind of kickstarted my corporate career. And I went from communications director to VP of marketing in a couple of years. And then
Wow.
I had a lot of freedom in corporate because I got in early, because I happened to be in the right room, because I had to be courageous, like so many little things that fell into place.
Yes.
And honestly, that was like a lot of fun. And I was making really good money at a very, young age. And being Latina, being an immigrant, everybody's like, you're so lucky. Like, how did you get so lucky?
Yeah.
And things were great. And then I started, I was traveling a lot. I love to travel. So whenever I got a chance, I would travel as much as you can when you have a corporate job. And, little by little, I started kind of like building this following on the side, like Instagram, from just posting my travels and my foodie adventures. Like I was like foodie and travel. And it was just me documenting like my life basically, like outside of work. And that started taking off. And I started being treated as an influencer, like being sent things, being paid to like show up places, and kind of like, again, it's just like this theme of like doing what you love and kind of going with the flow, and
It's
facing these
natural, right?
opportunities. Yeah, it felt it wasn't planned. Like I didn't set out like I want to be an influencer or I want to work in corporate. Like it was just kind of like, but you do have to show up at the same time. It's like you flow, but that's not to say you're gonna stay in bed all day and like sleep and like things will just fall from the sky. Like you still have to put yourself in those places. And anyway, so fast forward, I was having a good time. And eventually we got, and I'm gonna briefly go through this, but I think this is really important for people too.
Oh
I
yeah.
went
Don't
through a
worry.
situation.
We got lots of time. We all want to know
Okay,
your
yeah.
story. Don't
Okay,
worry.
yeah, go ahead.
No. I'm saying you go ahead.
Oh,
Don't worry.
okay. Yeah, I'm like, do you
Good.
want to finish the story now? I'm going to say it briefly, but if you want to ask any questions, we can get into it. But basically, we got the company got bought out because it was growing a lot. It was expanding all over the US. And so
Nice.
it got bought out by a new firm. They brought in a new CEO. And that's when kind of like the crazy part of my story, or like I would say kind of like that turning point happened, because this new CEO was basically harassing women within the company. And that included me.
Oh,
And I was one of the few women that worked like every day next to him. Like
right.
literally, like his office was down the hallway, whereas like most women in the company would see him from time to time. So for me, it was really hard. And it was hard because when I would go sometimes, I was in charge of communications, both external and internal. So I would talk to the field people a lot. I would get their feedback on what was happening. And they would open up to me thinking, hey, she has power. She's a woman, she's an executive. So like they would open up to me about what they were experiencing. And for me, it felt so disempowering because I didn't feel like I could tell them that it was happening to me too. Like I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to listen to them.
Yeah.
And so I would listen to them, get frustrated, and then I felt just really disempowered. And the teams were changing, right, from like the top level, you know, they were bringing in new people, you know, the people you reported to
Yeah.
changed. And so basically, like, it became this really toxic work environment for me. Even talking about it always like gets me a little bit like, you know, nervous.
I understand.
But I remember I started having anxiety, which at the time I didn't know it was anxiety, but I just felt weird. I couldn't sleep. I would have nightmares. My eye would start twitching, like all these crazy symptoms, like just feeling frozen and feeling like, hey, I've always been outspoken. I've always been, you know, really courageous and brave, and I've spoken my mind. But in those moments, I would feel like so like I would just like freeze. I didn't say what I wanted to say when things happened, and when I said them, like still nobody did anything. So it just became toxic for me. And
Yeah.
eventually, I had to decide, you know, is it gonna be my health, my well-being, or is it going to be this job just because they pay me well? Because people would tell me like, you can't quit that job, you know, and people didn't know the details, but they noticed like something was happening, like I wasn't happy in the job and I didn't want to tell people why. But they would be like, you can't quit that job, like, you know, you're so lucky and you're so young, and what if you don't get another job like that? Because I kind of grew with the company. And so eventually, I remember I went on a trip with my friend. She invited me to Havasupai Falls, which is really hard to go. Like you have to like try to register to go, and like it's almost impossible to get a chance to go. But she had a group that someone bailed out last minute, and she invited me. And at the time, I didn't know how sought after this place was, but I just happened to say yes. I was like, you know what, whatever. Yeah, I could use a long weekend. Let's go. It's one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to. It's these waterfalls are in the middle of the Grand Canyon, and it's just paradise. Like you have to walk to get there in the middle of the desert. We walked for 12 hours. Like we have
Wow.
huge blisters. Like
Oh
it's
my God.
ridiculous. Like I got to a point where I was like, is this really taking me to waterfalls? Because I'm in the middle of the desert and like I don't see anything for like that many hours, you know? But then we finally get there, and picture like after 12 hours, we started the journey like at 5 a.m. or something. It's hot in the middle of the Grand Canyon, and like we finally get to the first waterfall, which is like incredible, beautiful. Like the water is like a beautiful blue, and like it's just refreshing. And so on the first one, you can dive in right into the water, and that's how you get in. Like there's no like little shallow part. Like you kind of have to jump into that one if you want to get in. And
Wow.
my friends immediately were like, let's go jump, like let's go do it. And like they all jump in. And I remember I got to the edge and I couldn't jump. And I'm a really adventurous person. And I just couldn't jump. And then I would kind of like prep myself again and get to the edge and be like, and I couldn't do it. And long story short, that trip, I mean, my friends insisted, they tried to help me. I tried to talk myself like into it, like, come on, it's not even that deep, and like it's safe, and this and that, you know how to swim. I couldn't do it. I paralyzed. And I remember on the drive back, I literally started having a breakdown. And at this point, I still hadn't told anyone what was going on. And I just started crying about not like taking the leap into this waterfall to my friend who was also a coworker. And she's like, why are you crying about it? You know? But I had an epiphany that I had become this person, that this was kind of like a mirror, like something just showing me like, you know, you're not taking the leap. You're not like being you. Like now you're frozen. Basically, that's how I felt. And I just remember I shared how I was feeling, what was happening. And I remember after that trip, I was like, I'm going to find myself again. And not only that, but I got this really important passion. I always knew I wanted to help people somehow, like, you know, just even being a little girl. But I didn't know exactly like what my purpose or like my place was for that. And I realized like I don't want women to feel this way. It sucks to feel this way. It
Yeah.
sucks when you know that you've given your best in any situation and you've given so much to whether it's a company, a relationship, anything in life, and now you feel not appreciated, not seen, not heard. And so I remember I said, I'm going to quit this job. I don't care what happens. I don't care. I even said, I don't care if I have to work at McDonald's, which I don't even eat McDonald's. So for me to even say that in my mind, I was like, I don't care what happens. I'm just going to quit. And I remember that was so liberating. And when I look at back in my journey, I feel like that was a defining moment. And sometimes the biggest changes happen and they begin in your mind. When you really make that decision and you know that you mean it. And from there, I put in a couple of weeks notice. I used my last vacation days to go to Aruba. I was like, I'm going to use my paid vacation before I leave. So I actually took one last trip on the company. And I decided, hey, I'm starting over, so I might as well move where I actually want to live. And I really wanted to live in San Diego. That was my dream town to live. And so I remember, I had visited a few times. I was like, this is my city. This is where I like to be. I love the ocean, but I love that it's a smaller city. And, I remember I told everybody last minute, like literally like friends that had no idea. I was saying like, oh, I'm moving to San Diego, by the way. And I quit my job. And it was just me and my dog at the time. So I remember I got this huge U-Haul truck and I put my dog in it and I felt safe because my dog was coming with me. And we just drove to San Diego. We drove everything to San Diego and I got here. And, that was the start of my entrepreneur journey. And I moved here thinking, I'm just going to be a consultant for marketing and branding. That's what I do. And I actually got a client right for moving. So things were looking good. And at the same time, I get here and I don't know anyone. And that reality really hit hard. Like, I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody here. I would go to networking events for entrepreneurs. So now I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I have to put myself out there so people can get to know me. And also I want friends. Like, you're South American. I mean, all Latinos, we're very social. So for me, it was like, most importantly, yes, I want to do business. Yes, I want clients, but I want friends. Like, I need a social life. And imagine that. Like, I had so many friends back home. And so anyway, I started going to networking events and everybody was very transactional. Like, here's my card. Like, if I try to reach out to someone, even on Instagram, like, because I genuinely wanted to have coffee, like, hey, this person, we have so much in common. Like, hey, we should meet. People would always be skeptical. Like, they would be like, oh, what are you trying to sell me? Like, why do you want to hang out? It's like everybody has been burned. So anyway, so that led me to be like, you know what, I'm going to start my own event, like a networking event that's networking. And I remember I used to say, and I still say it, we don't network, we connect. That's kind of like our little motto for our meetups. And I was like, we're just going to meet. We're just going to meet people. Like, we're just going to have a good time. We're going to make real friends. And I remember thinking, like, when the first event was going to happen, I was like, if I get 5 people, I'll be happy. Like, I was very nervous. I was like, if I get 5 people, I'll be okay with that. Well, I got like 20 people, like way more than I expected. And I had a little place. So next thing you know, like, the events are selling out and, we're like getting so many women that everybody was saying the same thing. Like, I needed this. Like, I was looking for something like this. I was looking for my tribe. And so one thing led to another. And that actually outgrew my consulting business. Like, that became not only the center, financially or anything like that, like, but beyond everything, it was like, I feel like driven, like I feel purposeful, I feel fulfilled when I'm doing this. Like, I really love doing this. And so we started doing an annual conference with FEMX. We started doing, some online stuff. I started connecting with other women. I created a mastermind. And next thing you know, fast forward a couple years, I'm like always looking for spaces, for a venue, for a co-working space. Next thing you know, I was like, I'm just going to open my own space so that we can host our own events and we can let other women host, because now I'm meeting all these community organizers and women that are making moves and they want to meet up in a space, in a beautiful space. So that's how we founded FEMX Quarters. And yeah, fast forward, here we are today. Now we just launched our community app where women, hopefully you can reach women from all over the world and they can join for free and they can find other connections on there, and people that are looking for authentic connection, people that are looking for real business besties. So we have our local meetup is called Business Besties, and we literally are like such good friends. Like we're running our businesses, we're sharing information, we're sharing resources, and we really want to see each other succeed. So that's basically, I told you it's a long story because it's like I try to like break it down in like 15 years of life or more in like
Yeah,
a
no,
few minutes.
I
But
understand.
that's how it all kind of connected, and here we are today. And I'm yours. Whatever questions you have, whatever is helpful to your audience. But the reason I like to share it is because I want people to understand, like it's almost never a straight line, and I
Yeah, yeah.
never set out to do exactly what I'm doing now. But you kind of have to go with the flow and what life gives you as well.
Totally, totally. No, and thanks so much for sharing that. And it's well, many things that I'm gonna say about everything you said. Amazing story, first of all, and I'm glad that you took the leap right in the end,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically speaking. But no, it's great. And one thing I want to say. So I learned English in San Diego 10 years ago, and I love that city. I love San Diego.
What?
I have two uncles there, and they're awesome. Shout out to you, uncles. So they're great, and I love that city. It's also I still have friends because when I learned English, that was 10 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. I,
Mm-hmm.
I had all these friends that they were from Europe and
Mm-hmm.
like everywhere in the world, really, like even Turkey, everywhere. And then they still remember that time like the best time of their lives. But it's
Wow.
because that city is really special. I
Mm-hmm.
I I really love that city, and it's a great place. I've lived there. Like I lived there I was actually gonna study in Grossmont College. You've heard that one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna
Yes.
study law there, and a transition to a university later and stuff. But I really liked that place, and I wanted to stay there. So
Wow.
I understand your passion about, hey, I want to go there because
Yeah.
it's like a really nice destination to that. I maybe not. It's not just of the two of us, but many other people. I'm sure they're like, man, if I could live in one place, I would live there, right?
Yep.
It's just,
Mm-hmm.
of course, some people, because of the taxes and stuff, they don't want to live there. But I mean, the place is beautiful and things, are
Yeah.
incredible there. And like La Jolla is so
Yeah.
amazing. All these
Hey, if
beautiful.
you visit, you kind of got to come visit the space, and we gotta link up for sure. But it is a beautiful place. I cannot believe that you kind of started here. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So that San Diego kind of started my
Mm-hmm.
American dream. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I love
Mm-hmm.
San Diego, and whenever I go there, I would love to meet you, my friend. That would be awesome. And
Yeah.
you told me what is a good place to eat there. I haven't been there in 10 years, so I went to LA not too long ago, but it's not the same. LA is not the same.
No.
Not at
Mm-mm.
all. Not at all.
No.
No, that's fantastic. And one thing about your story, my friend, I've lived being bullied at work, and it
Mm-hmm.
sucks. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
the last. So I'm in a business coaching group,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a business coach, and in this group, like every 2 weeks or something, we have this group Zoom call, and we were talking about how to retain employees. And one thing that I said is like, man, you can sometimes you will lose like good people because you have this like you gotta spot these bullies in your company
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're gonna destroy. And do you know who Elena Cardone is?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, well, so I've read her book, and if you've read her book, she says like empires are destroyed from the inside,
Mm-hmm.
from the outside, right? Like we're
Yeah.
always thinking, oh man, like these people, they're trying to do something to me or my competitor or
Yeah.
whatever. You're concentrating in the external stuff, but it's actually you and the people that are working with you that the ones that can like destroy things completely. So as long as you're
Yeah.
working really hard, I mean, that's what I believe, and that's also something I've seen working for other people and working in my own
Mm-hmm.
company is
Mm-hmm.
that people internally, if we work really hard and we all doing our thing and we're having a good time and doing things the right way, we're always going to grow, and it doesn't matter what anyone else tries to do. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
internally collapsing, you're not gonna be able to grow. And So I said that in the group, like, hey man, like I've been bullied at work, and that just destroy a company. And I'm sure that company, after you left, more people left, and more people that were harassed, right? So they lost all this talent, and it just destroys the company internally. And the CEO there, he's probably got fired already, or
He did. He did get fired already. Yeah, and not only that, but the sad part is it created that company culture. So I love talking about corporate culture because initially when I started in that company, it was a company that helped me thrive. It was the kind of culture where they allowed me to be creative, they allowed me to have freedom, all these things. And how did it go from that to this company where now people are afraid to speak, and they're being micromanaged and all these things? Like you said, it scared away good talent. And up until this day, and it's been like 5 years, a little over 5 years since I left, I'll have women from time to time, not every day, but from time to time, someone will message me and say, hey, I worked for this company, I've heard about you and everything that you do, and this is happening to me now, what can I do? So now there's this culture of harassment, even though the CEO is gone, because whatever the leader does, it does trickle down, and it gives some people, like the bullies, permission to continue to do that, or maybe to do it openly. Maybe some people are already rude, but now they feel entitled, like they feel they can do it, get away with it. So you have to be really careful, even as an entrepreneur. And I think these experiences really help us because we can be more empathetic and we can understand people better. But as an entrepreneur, I always try to think, I want my company to be the kind of place that I would work at. Like if I was an employee too, right? I want it to be the kind of place where people want to be at, where people feel good, where people feel safe, and where everybody, not just myself, but everybody actually fits within that culture. I don't care how much talent someone has, but for any entrepreneur listening, like you can teach someone a new skill. You can teach someone how to edit a video, but you cannot teach them how to have empathy. You cannot teach them how to, those things, like if they didn't learn that since they were little, you're, as a boss, you're not going to be teaching them those life lessons. You have to hire the people that have the right attitude, the people that have the right upbringing, the right values that fit your company, and then you can always train them on the other stuff. And this is so important because of what you said, because you can destroy the empire. Even if you're a good CEO, somebody else can come in. If they're not a good fit, they can piss off a customer, they can piss off a coworker, they can ruin the culture for you. So it's really important that we manage that and we hire the right people as well.
Yeah, like when I left the company I was working for, the last company I worked for, that was like 3 years ago or something. One of the reasons I left, besides other things that happen, and I'm a person that likes to grow, so I wasn't finding that in the place I was working at anymore. And I said, like, man, I gotta go because I don't I'm not happy here anymore, because they're like, oh yeah, we already did this, and we help. I helped them grow, and of course it's a teamwork. But I was there and we grew it from 1 to 3 million. And I'm like, man, we can keep doing this, But it wasn't an older person, and they didn't want to do it, and all of that stuff. And it's or they didn't have all the things that so it was something like that. And I was like, man. But also I was being kind of bullied at work. Well, not kind of. I was bullied at work, and other people were too. But like it's like it's a terrible position to be in, because it's like you just feel bad, and worse and worse and worse, and then you stop being yourself. And like I'm a person that I always speak up, and of course these people, they hate that, right? Especially when it's creating because all of these toxic people, they don't like to work, they don't like to do things the right things. They want to do things their own way, that even if they know it doesn't work, or it's the company from expanding, they don't care. They do those things. So I was seeing that, right? And these people, like, it was a couple of people. These people, it was a husband and wife, which is also, I don't think necessarily a bad thing, but if they're both terrible people, like, they're gonna team up and be even worse. So that's kind of what happened there, and it was super horrible. And the other people, they were totally accustomed to it. They were like, and but they were like in their minds, and even the owner's mind, they were like superstars just because they were there for a while. Right. So unfortunately, they had that thing like, man, they've been with us for 7 years or so. Or, we kind of like started growing the company, but they didn't want to keep helping the company to grow, and they were just doing whatever they wanted to do, etc. And of course, when they see that, hey, these people are trying to do something positive for the company, and it's gonna make me work more, or it's gonna get me uncomfortable, and they're so comfortable, right? They don't like that. They're like, they want to do something about you, and in this case, is bullying you until you leave the company. And when you look at this is what I did. I found out, like, I'm like, man, why did this person leave this many months ago? Oh, and it would all link to this guy's doing something to this person, and the person couldn't stand it anymore, and they had to leave. And I'm like, but I'm not a quitter. So they left before I left, but it was very toxic, right? And to the point where one time I got a raise, and I got it on a paper because I was gonna buy a house. And then after this, we'll keep going with the interview. But it's just a big thing, like bullying at work. I'm sure some people, maybe they're gonna watch this, and they're gonna say like, shit, that's me, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, it's terrible. So anyways, I printed these papers of my raise because I needed a raise all my home, and it was perfect because I'm like, hey, they're asking me for I think it wasn't much. It was like $3 raise or something. It's a lot for some companies, right? Where there's people that have been there for 10 years, and they get like a 50 raise or something, which is crazy. But I got like a $3 raise, and then I needed it on paper because from my boss, right, and sign and everything, because I was buying a house. I didn't buy the house, but anyways, it was a fourplex actually. I didn't buy it, but then I printed it and I left it in my boss desk. And these people, of course, they feel like they're the owners, right? So she went and she grabbed the paper and she started crying because she read the paper, and she's like, Jose, of course I'm young, right? But I was a marketing person and the web design person and all, and I did so many things, and I was even selling sometimes, and I would close deals, and I'm really good. I'm a really good salesperson nowadays, but back in the day I was okay, not as good as I am now, but it was. She saw the paper, she started crying because, of course, they're victims, right? They're victims, and they know how to play their game. So it was she created a drama thing, and she's like, oh yeah, you deserve it, but she started treating me even worse because, of course, she's envious or whatever. And I didn't even care about the race. I needed the paper to show to the banker, right? And I'm like, man, this is like, there's no way they're happy, right? You know what I mean? Like, they just want to see you in pain, or I don't even know. It's insane. But that happened, and that's when I said, like, man, this is too crazy. Like, these people are absolutely nuts. And then these guys, because everybody complained, literally, everybody complained in the company, and then it was finally when they were kicked out. They were kicked out, and they stole from the company when they. I mean, it's crazy. Like, they're like a plague. So what I do in my own business, Jessie, is I fire people super, super fast. Because they're gonna destroy the company, if I let them. So I kick them out super fast, super, super fast. And now we're 13 people, but last month we were 15. So as soon as I see something weird, boom, I fire them super fast. Because I get it, and it's not just for me and my company, it's for everyone. Like, the company is all of us. So if these people start putting some negative shit in my company, saying bullshit or talking bad about a coworker or me or someone else, it's gonna start creating that bad thing internally, like you said, and it's gonna destroy the company. Like, it happened to this company.
It also affects the customers because if people are moody, if people are not having a good time, or they're going through anxiety, whatever the situation, it's also going to trickle down to your customers, to your customer service. And this was happening even at that corporate level, where the employees were so unhappy that they would mistreat the customers, and that was affecting the company reputation. So it's not even just, it starts internally, but it really does trickle down to all the stakeholders, whether it's investors, whether it's customers, whether it's your employees. And so it's really important. But I like that you said, I'm not a quitter, because I used to say that too. And I wasn't a quitter, but I think like what I tell people now is, be a quitter of the bad things, be a quitter of the things that are not making you happy, like we put up with things for way too long. And I think that's okay. We learn, we live and we learn, and we're still young. But if I could tell people that are still in their 20s, right? These are some of the mistakes I made in my 20s. Like, don't stay in those situations. Like, the sooner you get out, you're giving these people way too much of your energy and your time. And I know a lot of people that show up to work every day, and they keep going and they keep putting up with these things. And then they bring it home sometimes, and it affects their personal relationships, it affects their marriages, and it's just not worth it. And so do quit if you need to quit things. It's like we hear all these things that sound good.
No,
Yeah, it's like they sound good, these things. Yeah. So
you
I was gonna say that.
Yes. No, I'm just saying, yes, quit the bad set shit, but excuse my language. Yes. Quit the bad stuff. I'm with
agree.
you. Yes. And so that's fantastic. And I hope, some people that are watching this and they're like, man, that's me. Like, I mean, you find out how you can solve the situation. But I think you believe in God and stuff, right, Jessie? I think I just understood why God destroyed Sodom and what is it, in Gomorrah, because it was like it was too late. It was too late. Like, there's no way, you can fix it. It's too screwed up. But no, it's a big problem, and I think that has created many entrepreneurs as well. That problem in companies, because people quit. I mean, that's what happened to you. So it did. It created you. Well, me too, actually. And it was like a half and half situation. But it's once you take off, right? You leave that place. You're like, man, I'm free, right? You're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. But no, it's amazing. But let me ask you something, my friend. Why you tell us all this story, but why women and why empowering women? Why do you feel, why is that your call in life? Because that's what you do the most, right?
Yes.
So why? Tell me why.
Yeah, I mean, number one, because I saw that there's a lot of work to be done. When I was going through the sexual harassment situation, this was during the Me Too time. So you would think that because this whole Me Too is going on and people are talking about things in the news, you would think that, hey, these things are not happening anymore. Like we've had Me Too, and like we're good, and like we've had these conversations, but these things are happening. They're still happening even now. So it showed me, and even I was naive at times to think that, right? To listen to the news and be like, oh, why didn't she leave? If someone was harassing her, or someone was doing something, like, why didn't she speak up? Like, as a young person, I still would ask that myself, even when I listened to the news, because I was still sort of naive, because it never happened to me. And sometimes we don't understand situations unless we go through them. And once I was going through the situations, I was like, oh, I understand why women don't speak up. Like, it is scary. Or I understand this, I understand that. And so, or like, I understand what it's like to be blamed. Like, when I spoke up and like I reported it to HR, like I got completely like retaliated against, right, by the leaders of the company. So like I had betrayed the company. So I understand why a lot of women stay quiet. So that was number one. Like, I lived it. And I felt, and even men, yes, men go through this too, right? So it's like I lived something that I can really relate to, that I can understand now, and that I see that there was a lot of space for improvement, and that we could do a lot of things. Number two, I realized that even though people were having the conversations, it wasn't always productive. Like it was, a lot of the conversation was, okay, we're complaining about this problem, like this is happening, this is wrong. But like, what are we really doing to get out of those situations, right? And I started to research, and a lot of the times, most of the time, women stay in abusive relationships, you know, sexual harassment situations like a job, because financially they need to, right? Like financially, they're not prepared to say, hey, if I'm married to an abusive husband, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to take my kids, or I'm going to quit this job, right? We are not financially empowered enough many times to do that. And so for me, I was young, I didn't have any kids. I had a good salary, and I still didn't leave because of money, right? Because people were like, oh, you're not going to find another job like that. So I didn't even have high stakes, and I still was, you know, financial resources were still a concern for me. And so I realized, okay, what can we do to create solutions, to create safe spaces, to create spaces where, hey, we're complaining about toxic corporate environments. Let's create environments where we can hire women, and it can be a good environment, and it can be uplifting, and it can be authentic. And so for me, it was part of it was, what can I do to be part of the solution? And because I can relate to it, we actually, it's really interesting because my husband is starting now something called FEMX, which is for male entrepreneurs, right? And people are like, oh my gosh, this is so needed. And they love it. Like men are coming, they're opening up. Like, oh, you know, it's crazy. Like it's needed. It's needed for both. But I never knew that need because I'm not a man. Like I can't relate to that, right? I wouldn't have known what to speak to the man about, or like, you know, maybe like some business principles and whatnot. But, you know, it's interesting how we all have kind of that place and that calling. So like I you know, always tell men, like, it's nothing against men. Like I can relate to the women experience because I am a woman. I have been there. I had felt those things, you know. I understand the questions we have and the fears that we have. And there's a place for that for men too, and for anybody to really find, you know, that community where they fit in, where they are empowered, a place where you go and you leave feeling better than when you came there. And that's what I wanted to create. And for me, it was women because I understand it. And as a woman, I've experienced, of course, multiple times, multiple experiences throughout my life of what it feels like to maybe feel disempowered, or maybe like, you know, be attacked, or maybe even feel unsafe, like walking to a parking lot and watching over your shoulder, like these little experiences that all women can relate to. So it's like, what can I create to build these spaces? And the focus on entrepreneurship was because, like I shared before, I was already an entrepreneur, and so even within the women group, I identified like, hey, we really need a group of female entrepreneurs that can come together. Another concern is that women are less funded than men, right? The statistics show that only less than 1% of women get funding when it comes to venture capital, right? So like things like that, where it's like, okay, that's good to know, but what are we gonna do about it, right? Like, can we have an event where we talk about how to raise funds for women, so we know how to pitch ourselves, so that we meet investors, so that we put ourselves in the right rooms, right? So it's always been about that. Like, what can I do to be part of a solution, you know? And I think in any calling, and people always ask, like, what's my purpose? Like, think about your experiences. Think about the things that you understand. Then identify a need. And this is really important for any business, right? Part of it was my experience. Part of it was identifying that need. Like, you know, I came to San Diego, I didn't find a place like that, so I'm going to create it. And the third part is, you know, making sure that you're creating solutions, because that's what's going to make people stick around. If people can say, hey, I went there and I'm better for it. I went there and I met my business bestie. I went there and I had a great time. I went there and I had a breakdown and we cried and now I feel better and I healed, like anything like that, then you're offering the results and people will come back and people will recommend and people will bring other people. And so those are the things that incentivized me and showed me kind of like what my purpose was. And so I also believe when it comes to purpose that it's not just like we have one purpose in life. Like we have many purposes in life, right? Like I'm gonna be a mom now. You know, that's part of my purpose in life, you know, to be a mom to this beautiful soul. But, you know, part of it was also to like build these spaces. And so it's understanding that, you know, we don't need to put so much pressure on like, I need to find my one purpose. Like life shows you and guides you into what that is, you know, and that's why I like to share my story from the beginning, at least from, you know, my career part, because it's a journey, right? And as you start identifying those things, like what experiences do I have, how do I combine them with the needs out there, how do I combine them with my passion? Like I said before, I love socializing, so I have no problem throwing an event. I love doing that, right? Well, maybe somebody out there is like, I don't like socializing, I don't want to be throwing an event. Well, what is it that you like? You like to be behind a computer? Maybe you can start an app. Maybe you can, you know, do websites, like something that you love to do, and how you're going to find your place in that industry, in that niche.
Totally. And I just want to say something before we keep going, and is that we target only women in our marketing. Women
Really?
women are badass, okay? And
Thank
we
you.
only target women are badass, okay? And I try to do more business with women than with men. And I'll say why. And I'm a man, so I can say
yeah, I'm curious. I want to hear this.
I'm a man, so I got the I can say it. It's gonna be okay. I hope. So, men, we're more emotional. You girls are more logical, and you're to the point, and you make a decision, and you put, you know, like you put strength to it, and you're like, I am doing this, and you go for it. Men, we're more hesitant. We're like thinking everything. I try to stay away from that, but I guess it's in us, right? Like we overthink things, which you would think is women who do that, but no, it's men. Or maybe the pay, like things have changed. I don't know what the heck is happening, but
you know what it is? The way I see it is because, like, I mean, scientifically speaking, we can look at men and women and like some of the differences. And one of the differences is and there's a spectrum, but men tend to be more analytical and women tend to be more intuitive. And so what happens is, you know, as much as people say, well, men are analytical, so a lot of people think like they're going to have a better time making a decision. Well, when those decisions are guided only by numbers or facts, like you're going to start overthinking, right? But if you, like you said, a woman, I can go somewhere, I can like something, and my intuition or my gut or whatever is like, I want to get this, or I want to do that, or I want to take the leap, or I want to put this job. Because we're more intuitive and we're hopefully listening to that intuition, that's one of our superpowers. You know, that's where it seems like what you're saying, where it's like, oh, we're like, you know, we are more decisive once we embrace that part of us, right? Instead of trying to think everything with our brain. And I have met a lot of women that come out of corporate trying to be more analytical and we kind of like, when you're in corporate, it kind of puts you in that more analytical, you know, male trait thing, and it messes with you, and then you feel out of like your center. But it's really important for anybody listening, especially women, to understand, like, and men too, because we all have intuition, but to really like, when you're making decisions, you know, listen to what feels right, like what feels right, because it's like, again, if I went by analytics and facts, like, you know, I would say, oh, I can't quit this corporate job, like they pay me so well, like, you're right, like if I'm going by that. But when you're like, your intuition is telling you like, hey, you're getting sick, if you continue in this path, you know, you're not going to be mentally well, or like this is toxic for you. Like when we start listening to that wisdom, that's when we start finding our path. But it is really spot on what you're saying about women and men. And that's why, right? Like some people see it as impulsive, like women are impulsive because they'll be like, oh, the facts are telling you this and you pick that. But it's because we have that inner intuition. And another thing I'm gonna say, since we are kind of like making the little comparison, it's, you know, I always laugh because they say like, you know, supposedly, right, like overall, like people think, oh, like men are stronger, women are weaker, but it's like, why are we the ones who have babies? Like, why are we the ones who, like, now that I'm pregnant, right, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'm like, my husband has a cold and he's like bedridden for like 3 days, you know, like he's like, I'm battling, you know.
No, me too. I'm the same way.
Right,
I'm the same way, and I admit it, but and this is factual, guys. Like what I'm saying here about women and stuff is factual because
Yeah.
not just because of the researches that other people have done.
Yeah.
I did my own research. Okay, over 200 companies that we've dealt with.
Wow.
The ones that the ones that are ladies that manage the company, right? Like this lady business owners. Those are the ones that we like did the work. They were ready. They knew what they
Yeah.
wanted. It flowed better. Like all those things, when with men it was like not like a full nightmare, but it was like the process with women, especially like they already knew what they wanted and
Yeah.
they were ready to do it, and they once they understood that it was something important that to achieve whatever they wanted to do in business, they pull the trigger. Where men, they're crazy about, they go crazy and they're like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna do this, or like, I don't know. I mean all the things you already said, but yeah, but I just wanted to say that, and especially because probably a lot of women are gonna watch this, and I want you girls to know that you're badass, and you're, and then definitely.
No.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that you can search online, and it's true, is that women do a lot better in the corporate world than men. That's a fact too.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're gonna be done soon here, my friend. Thank you so much for being with us. Before we end this off, I have three more questions.
Okay.
The first one of the three is tell us how can we do business with you? How can we go to your events? How can we be part of your community and everything? If we're in San Diego, and if we're not in San Diego, what can we do to get some of the FEMX vibe and the like some of Jessie and all of that cool stuff? Like, how can we do that?
For sure, yeah. So if you are not in San Diego and you want to connect with our community, you can download our mobile app for free on Google or the iPhone, the App Store, whatever it's called. So just look up FEMX Community on there. It's FEMX Community. And if you are in San Diego, come visit us. We have a space here. We do meetups every Monday. We have the Business Besties as well, which is a mastermind for female entrepreneurs that want to meet friends and connect and do business together. And if you want to find me, you can just find me at jessiemedina.com. You can always send me a DM on Instagram. I'm always really active on there at Jessie Medina Official.
Awesome. Yeah, so all the links are going to be in the description anyways. JessieMedina.com. You already heard her. And get together with Jessie, get in the community. If you're a lady, you need support from other people that are doing it too, especially if you're starting, which is our audience, Jessie, is entrepreneurs that are starting. So it's great to see that. And I've never had a networker like you. Like, you're getting people together in real life, which is something amazing after COVID and all this BS that we've gone through. I started to network again because and it's been great, and it's always good to know other people, and especially in business. Like, my friends are not the same. Like, I switched friends because of how things are, and especially like it's not the same because we don't have as much affinity anymore in things because of business now.
Yeah.
So it's cool to get together with other people that understand, what you're doing, your vision. They have similar vision, or they totally know what you're going through, etc. It's very cool. So get together with people. If you're in San Diego, you have to go to the meetings. And now, of course, Jessie's husband is starting a men community. So if you're a man and you're watching this, get into his community too. And
they have an app too. It's called MENX on the Google app and stuff. So they have all the things too, just for men. So yeah, check it out.
Beautiful. So Jessie, I would like to have your husband. I don't know what he does, but I would like to get it with him and maybe have him here too. That would be awesome. And now the last two questions, my friend, and thank you so much. God bless you for being here and taking the time to spend with us and teaching us so much. And we love to hear from your story. And I'm sure a lot of people will relate, or they're living it right now, but they see you and they're like, if she did it, I can do it too. That's why I started the show. That's why I started this, because I I remember when I started, I was like, man, you know, I had no one, right, to relate to. So I was just starting from scratch, and I had no advice from anyone. In fact, everyone was telling me the opposite. Like in your case, everyone was like, don't quit your
Right,
job.
right.
You're lucky, and also like something I've been saying in the past episodes is that because we've had other Latin people, is that for the Latin community here in the States, like they're very doubt like they doubt a lot about us being able to be successful and things like that for whatever
Yeah.
freaking reason. And we all start believing it, right? We all believe it because one guy says, yeah, you're an immigrant, like don't expect to be doing well in the States or whatever, and we start believing it, right? Like we're so it's and if it's inside of you, you gotta like disintoxicate yourself from that BS,
Yeah.
because it's totally bullshit. And that's what I did, and that's how I've been able to do my stuff in my business. But you got to take that off your system, because it's not true. In fact, we have very like a lot of tweets that allow us to be even better than some other people in many areas and cultures and stuff. So yeah, no, 100%. If you're Latin and you're watching this, like, man, go for it. You got all the chance to win in the game of money, business, etc. Like, we're badass. So to the last two questions, my friend. The first one is, what 3 books would you recommend to a brand new entrepreneur or brand new lady entrepreneur that they have to read? Like, it's an absolute read.
There are so many, but if I had to pick 3 off the top of my head, I would say Linchpin. That really helped me take the leap, doing a lot of big things that I did. By Seth Godin. I would say anything by Brene Brown, really, but my favorites. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher the title. Anything by Brene Brown, okay? Because I've really read all her books, and then I'm currently reading "We Should All Be Millionaires" by Rachel Rogers, and that one is really good. She's a Black woman, so like a lot of it will appeal, to maybe being an immigrant or like just being different too, or a person of color. So it's really cool, like how she talks about the differences, like maybe the messages that we hear, kind of like what you were saying, and we create these limited beliefs and whatnot. And so that's a really good book if you want to elevate what you're making now. You want to get to that $1 million. So those would be the top 3 right now. There are so many. Those are my 3 favorites right now.
So I didn't quite get the second one, and the first one you said it was Linchpin.
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 Yes, that one is so good. It's older. It's a little older, but not super old. But it's a very good book. I would say that one made a big difference in my career.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
Linchpin, and then what is the other one you said? Well, you said the name.
Anything by Brene Brown. I'm trying to think of
Brené
like
Brown.
one of her books, but just really like anything by Brene Brown. And if you want to listen to her videos, she's amazing. And the third one is "We Should All Be Millionaires."
Okay, great. So Brené Brown is the second one, and "We Should All Be Millionaires" with
Yes.
M. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, my friend. And the last one is, what are the best 3 tips that you would tell, especially women? Let's make it women. So lady entrepreneurs, what would be the best 3 tips or 3 most important things that you would tell a new lady entrepreneur?
Okay.
Or girl entrepreneur?
I
Yeah.
love it. People should know that these are not prepared. So like I love that you're putting me on the spot like this. Okay, so I would say that again, so many things, but I would say number 1 is you can design your dream life. And this is something that I tell people, like it's by design. You have to be intentional about it, but you can do it. You can really paint a clear picture in your mind of what you want your life to be like, to look like, to feel like, and you can create that life for yourself. Not always easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can do it. The second thing I would do once you understand that and believe that, is come up with a vision board. Come up with, like, whether it's in your journal, some place where you really put that vision somewhere. So write it down. If you're a visual person, get photos, collage, whatever you need to really be able to create that picture. And I would say number 3 is follow your instincts, your intuition, your gut, whatever you want to call it. Like, actually follow that, because we have been given so much wisdom and we let the world tell us what to do and how to do things, but you don't have to do what others tell you. Like, you have to believe that you have that inner knowing. So follow that. So yes, those are the three. So believe that you can design your dream life, create that vision, put it on paper or on a board or somewhere. And then number three is trust yourself, trust your gut.
I just bought. I love the second one because I just bought a huge board. In fact, it's this thing. It's enormous.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
I was like, wow, $200 for a board? That's crazy. But when I saw the board, I was like, I understand why it's $200.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing because, of course, I write everything down. And when you're seeing things visually, you're like, you have your goal, right? Or whatever it is, you have it here. And I look at it and I look at, like, for example, here I got my Q3 marketing calendar and I got a new logo, some new business cards, finished product presentation, all of those things. I've been able to almost achieve all of them because it's visual. I see it all the time. And in Jessie's case, what she's saying is put your vision, whatever it is, visually, like put it in a board, put it somewhere. And there you don't have to spend $200 for a board like I did.
No.
You can buy an affordable one. Like the first board I bought, I bought it on OfferUp, and I spent $20. And it was
the first one that I got was from the Dollar Tree for $1. By the way, if you're looking for like the foam boards, because I host a workshop, right? So I buy like 30 to 50, 60 boards every year when I host this workshop because I provide the materials. So I get these big boards for like $1 there, and anywhere else you go, they're like $15 per board, and they're big, they're like perfect. So don't be thinking like if you can buy that board, great, the $200 one, but like you can even get it for $1. Like don't think that you need to go and like splurge. It's really more about like your vision, finding the photos. You can find them online, you can print them, whatever, but make sure you're creating that plan. And even if it's not always pictures, you can create a picture one. But like you said, if you have goals for the year, like, I have a big whiteboard where I have like, this is how much I want to make this year. And, this is how I'm going to make it. And this is my tactics. And this is my timeline. So make sure that whatever you're planning, whether it's like your whole dream life or like your yearly or quarterly goals, you have it somewhere where you can see it and you can be reminded.
Yeah. 100%. This call is being sponsored by Dollar Tree. Go to Dollar Tree for all your. No, I'm just kidding.
They should be paying me. I should have known the name.
Yeah, next time we'll get it, my friend. But no, like, well, the other thing I was gonna say is like, even if you're like, I have to get this started today, right now at this time because you're inspired. Go ahead and if you have a printer home, make the file or just get a piece of paper, write it down, put it in your wall. Like this is what I was doing. I got this board because I had so many papers everywhere. It was insane. And I still do. I have I print my organization board and it's over there. And this place is a mess. This place is ridiculous. But that's why, I got the board but I have stuff everywhere. And I do I follow Jessie's advice. It's great advice. And I believe like I don't have the life I designed yet, but I do believe what she's saying, which is you can achieve the life that you want to have. Don't listen to the BS from other people. You can, okay? Because everyone is gonna say, "Oh man, what is gonna make you believe like you can do that?" When I'm way older than you, and I haven't done it. You're an immigrant, and you gotta like. I would listen to that stuff, and that really holds you back. But that's all in their heads. So it's not even in your head. They're trying to justify their condition, but then you're gonna listen to that, and then it's gonna hold you back. But don't listen to that. That is in their heads, not in your head. And your situation can be completely different. And totally believe in your intuition. Every time, Jessie, I don't listen to my intuition, I'm like, shit. Oh my God. Why didn't I listen to myself? It's literally. Yeah, I'm saying it's perfect, but you should first listen to you before anything else.
Yeah, just know, like if you're feeling like, hey, I just really feel like doing this, or like I can't get this off like my chest or something, and then everybody else is telling you different, still do what you know, like still do what, and it's crazy how powerful that is. And it's so powerful, excuse me, that other people watching eventually they'll start honoring their intuition when they see that it works. Like it's crazy how you
Oh,
can model that for others too.
oh yeah, no, it's incredible. It's incredible. I do that more because I've done some stuff that I knew I didn't or I felt. I mean, it's your knowingness, I believe, or something like
Mhm.
that. You
Yeah.
know, it's you don't listen to yourself. But
Mhm.
anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jessie, for being here. It was amazing having you. God bless you, my friend. And please follow everyone and say thank you to Jessie in the comments and the description and everywhere for being here with us. But please check her out. Go to her social media, follow her and stuff. And she's very cool. You just met her. So if you have any questions about anything that she does or how to go to her meetings, that would be awesome. If she could get some people from our show to join her community, that would be excellent. Let her know that you saw the video and that's how you got to her. But anyways, thank you guys. God bless you. Thank you
Besos.
so much, Jessie. Don't leave yet, my friend. I want to be able to meet you a little
Okay.
longer. That's awesome, guys. Take care. Thank you, and see you in the next one.